Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sammamish High School and the Bellevue School District College Conference, one night of two. My name is Scott Powers, principal of Sammamish High School. We're excited to finally be able to host at Sammamish, as we've been under construction for the last 4 years, haven't had the parking and the space to do this event. So again, we're excited to have you here, and for those of you who've not been in our building, to see what a beautiful, beautiful space this is. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Duran. He's got a presentation, then I'll come back and we'll walk you through some of the particulars of this evening's event and give you a little sense of where the different rooms are. Hopefully everybody got a program as they came in, should have a map, the different sessions that are part of that. If you didn't, you can pick one up on your way out, and that will make sense. So, to introduce Dr. Ivan Duran, who joined the Bellevue School District as our superintendent this last July 2017. Prior to his role, Dr. Duran was deputy superintendent of the Dallas Independent School District in Texas, a district serving approximately 160,000 students. Dr. Duran also served as the assistant superintendent for elementary education for Denver Public Schools in Colorado. He also served as a principal supervisor, a director of instructional technology, principal, assistant principal, and a teacher, all at public schools in Colorado. Dr. Duran holds a doctorate in educational leadership and policy from the University of Denver, a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from the University of Colorado, and a bachelor's degree in elementary education. His doctoral work focused on leadership at 2 different groups of turnaround schools and the practices that impacted student learning and outcomes. Dr. Duran is an avid runner, fellow cyclist, a fisherman, and a cook. He and his wife share a passion for promoting education, equity in education, and exploring the great outdoors and keeping up with their resident canine, Gracie. Please give applause for Dr. Duran.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here tonight. I want to start off by find out who's in the room, and so I want to just kick it off by saying if you're connected with International School, let me hear you get a little shout out. If you're with International, all right, you'll raise hands. If you're with Newport High School, anybody here from Newport? A few people, all right, that's it. Do a little clap, a little shout out. How about Big Picture? I can't hear you, Big Picture. Very good. Interlake High School. All right, very good. And Bellevue High School. And our host school, Sammamish High School. The home school always has the loudest voice, so it's great to be here. And as Mr. Powers shared, I'm new to Bellevue, I was thinking about my 6th month, and just very excited to be here. I'll show a bit more around my background, but I do want to take a moment. I know Deb Kraft is in the back. Deb, if you would just come forward just a little bit from that, holding up that door. Deb Kraft is our Director of Counseling Services in our district and really is a big contributor for why this event happened tonight. So let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Deb. I also know that this is National High School, and actually it's really all of our schools, Counselor Week. And so we send a big shout out to our counselors across our district, because oftentimes they don't get recognized for the work that they do, but here in Bellevue, we believe that counseling is so important, and we really make sure that we do everything to ensure our students are not only successful academically, but we also do as much as we can to ensure our students are successful at a social and emotional level and have the ability to be able to be well-rounded individuals. So our counselors play a big part of that. So as you think about the counselors in your schools, remember to give them a little extra shout out and love this week. As Mr. Carr shared, I was most recently down in Dallas Independent School District, and it's a very large district, 160,000 students, and then previously I was in Denver Public Schools. That's where I would spend the majority of my career, and that's about 90,000 students. So many times people have asked me, well, why Bellevue? Why did you choose to come to Bellevue? And part of that reason is that I spent the largest part of my career in Aurora Public Schools, which is in Colorado, right next to Denver. Spent about 12 years there. I was an assistant principal, and a director. And that district at that time was about 30,000. And I loved that district. I loved the district because it was smaller. I felt I had deeper connections and relationships. If there was issues or challenges, I knew that I could go directly across to somebody to be able to solve that. And Bellevue is a size that I really, really appreciate. Another thing that's important is that I really love the experience in Dallas at a professional level, but being born and raised in Colorado, we have mountains. There's no mountains in Texas. And so I really miss the mountains and really just miss that outside part of being in nature. And so the opportunity for Bellevue came up, and I looked at the results that this district has had, the ability to be able to be back in nature, the additional water is just a huge plus. But the district has had some wonderful success, and I really felt that with my experience in the larger urban school districts, to really come to be able to help to make sure that all of our students find success and graduate from our schools and move on in order to have a much richer life and experience based on their education. So it's just been a real blessing to be here. This is Mr. Powers, good sharing. I'm here with my wife. She works for a consulting company, an educational consulting company. So we're both educators and both have this deep passion to really make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that the students find success. I'm going to start off tonight by just sharing a little bit around my college experience. I have a much larger presentation that I've shared around just my overall life experiences. And I was a student that didn't have a lot of success in school, struggled in high school, nearly dropped out, and it had nothing to do with my ability or how smart I was. I just really struggled at a social and academic level, primarily socially, a little bit too much involved with my friends and doing things I probably shouldn't be doing, and just didn't apply myself, so a lot of lessons learned. After I do a little bit of my college experience, I'm going to talk about Bellevue today and kind of where our story is now, and just talk about some of the successes that we've had and just our overall demographics. And then I'll spend some time talking about persistence and then wrap up talking about resilience. So to kick off a little bit, I was a late start for college. Like I said, I almost didn't graduate from high school. Fortunately, my parents really created a strong boundary for me to really make sure that I did graduate from high school. The word college was never part of my vocabulary. No one in my family had ever been to college. My family was originally from New Mexico. My mother was a high school educated individual, and my father was a high school dropout. So I just didn't have that type of role models. And so when I think about the experiences that many of our students have here in Bellevue, it's so different from mine, and I just really see this as an amazing place to be. I do remember that I was in 10th grade, I took the Armed Service Aptitude Test, which is something that is done in a number of high schools. And at that time, I remember I got the results back and they said, you could be a great mechanic. And I thought, wow, I could be a great mechanic, but I never really thought about what I want to do long term. After that, I never really had any exposure to it until my sister went off to college. When I did decide to go to college, I worked right after high school, and I attended Metropolitan State University, Wake Metropolitan State College, which is in Denver. It's a commuter campus, and when I went at the age of 21, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I knew that I wanted to be an educator because some of my other experiences and some of the reasons why I struggled in school is I didn't really have good systems and supports, and I wanted to get involved in education so that I could try to make a difference for students today. And it's still part of why I do what I do. After my second year, I was fortunate enough to be able to start my master's degree. My master's work really focused on looking at second language acquisition, and I did that at the University of Colorado in Denver. And then finally, one of my proudest moments of my life, besides getting the superintendency here in Bellevue, was earning my doctorate degree. That is the highest level of education that one can achieve in education. It's something that I really wanted to do once I had finished my master's degree and had been in education for a while. So I was very blessed to be able to go to the University of Denver to get my educational degree, my doctorate degree there. And it was one of those moments that was a proud time for me because it was something that I dedicated to my mom, that I really attribute to my success to my mom supporting me when I was in high school and really just drawing that line for me. I do want to share that a very different experience was with my sister. And it's amazing to think that in families that students can, or children can have such different experiences. My sister was like that. She was incredibly smart. She still is incredibly smart. She could read a book in one day that oftentimes took me 10 days and was able to really move through material at a really quick pace. She was pretty much a straight A student. The one funny story that I think about my sister is that when she was in second grade, she had a teacher, Miss Bernier, tell her that you could go to college. Well, my sister had no idea what college She actually thought college was a state, a place that you would actually go visit, and like you were going to go on vacation or something like that. So that's why I got a little graphic up there. But my sister was the first one in my entire family, and I'm talking extended family and beyond, that actually went to college. She went to Colorado State University, majored in communications, and earned her bachelor's degree there. She then went on to the University of California in Santa Barbara, where she earned her master's degree in communications and ended up working and serving as a professor at the Santa Barbara City College. She also has a doctorate degree. She earned hers from the University of Colorado in Denver. And during that time, my sister and I were competing to see who was going to finish first. And she did beat me by about a year's mark. But we both now have really learned how important education is. We really value the experience and really believe that college is a place where a lot of opportunities are presented and opportunities open up for so many things that you may not even think about now. I want to shift a little bit to talk about Bellevue and really emphasize that over the first 6 months of my tenure here in the district, I've spent a lot of time listening and learning. I spent time talking with students, spent time talking with community members, with parents, with teachers, and just numerous people that have been huge supporters of Bellevue. Bellevue is seen as the jewel of the Northwest. People flock to our schools because they know students will get a great education. Our community members really support our schools. And I just really learned that at this time that we're really a diverse community, and it's changed rapidly over the number of years. But the diversity that we have here in Bellevue is unique, and in many ways represents the world that we all live in. To give you an idea of that, this year we topped 20,000 students, and you can see up here, and it is where we are with our demographics and just the different backgrounds that we have from all of our students, the number of students that are receiving free and reduced lunch, special education students, and students that speak another language. So we are a growing district, and we hope to continue that, but we know that we're also limited by our size, and thankful to all of our voters and supporters, because like Sammamish being here in the new school, as a result of some of the support that many people have provided to us, both with our bonds and levies. This was a really fascinating piece of data from me. I don't know if you know this, but this is just a really high shot of our first 15, but we have over 94 first languages. As you see, English is one of the largest ones, but when you look at this list, you can see that we have a large number of Spanish speakers that are here, Korean, Russian, some of our Indian languages, Vietnamese, and these are just the top 15, but we have over 94 languages. So if you can think about what that environment is like, just looking across the room here and seeing how diverse we are, this is really our strength. I love this slide, and just thankful to Alex, our webmaster over here, who built this for me, because those languages represent over 125 countries. So we really are a microcosm of the larger world. And here in Bellevue, we have diversity that I think is very unique to other places in our state and our country. So one of the things that I heard in the listening tour, and one of the things that I've seen just going and visiting our schools, that I really believe that our students are prepared for college. Our mission statement clearly states that we want to provide our students with an exemplary college preparatory education so that they can find success in college, career, and life. And so that's one of our driving mission and vision that we have here, is to ensure that our students are able to move on beyond high school and find success with whatever they endeavor to do. All of our students take at least one college-level course in high school. Our graduation rate right now is 91%. And even though that number is very high, that is a number that I consider an output. What I'm more interested in finding out is when we reach the outcome of our mission, where students find success beyond high school. You can see from this data that we have 94% of our students taking at least one AP or IB course before they graduate. We know that those courses really help to set the tone for what our students will expect when they get onto college or to other areas of their life, and so they're really important to kind of help get that started. And then I also just think it's so impressive the number of our students that actually take the ACT or SAT scores. These are really important to get into college these days. I just think that this represents what we do to make sure that your students are prepared, and that our students are prepared to enter into college. This one is a great slide to just talk about that our students go not only to national schools, but also our local schools here in the state. It's hard to see. I know we're going to post this online. But you see the University of Washington, we had 817 students apply, and 332 students were actually attending. And this list represents some of our Ivy schools, smaller schools, some 2-year programs. But you can see that our students really apply and gain access to a number of schools. I was a little disappointed to see there wasn't the University of Colorado on there, but we forgive them for now. Even though our graduation rates are high, I wanted to make sure to just emphasize around that as much as we talk about diversity being our strength, we know that our graduation rates aren't the same. Some of the work that we've done here in Bellevue is really ensure that the majority of our students find success, but we know that not all of our students are succeeding at the same level. This is really big interest around why I wanted to come to Valley, because I really wanted to come here to really help support the work that we've done and to really make sure that these numbers become very close to being the same and ensuring that all students are graduating at the same rate. We have some work to do in this area, and these are some things that we're committing to do and working on. In the springtime, our students take different ways to Naviance and some of the National Clearinghouse information. We collect information on what students think they're going to be doing after they graduate from high school. And this one just kind of shows both the totals and specifically by race and ethnicity around where our students thought they were going to go. Majority of our students were planning to go to a 4-year college, some were planning to go to a 2-year college, some to the military, and some to work. As we look at these numbers, I do think it's so important that we always make sure that for some of our students in college, like my own experience, college wasn't ready for me. I wasn't ready for college right after high school. It took me a little bit of time. And so even if a student may not want to go to a 4-year college, there's a number of opportunities. And it may not be right away. It may be a little bit of time. Most important, I think, is that you support your students, and students are persisting and really making sure that they have some vision or goal for what they're going to do to try to get into school or to get some other opportunity that we have listed here. When we look at actually where students end up after school, you can see that, look at it again by race, we still struggle a little bit. We have high numbers of our Asian and multi-ethnic students who actually end up graduating and enrolling in college. But you can see that with our Hispanic, Black, African American students, we still have a lot of work to do. So here in Bellevue, again, one of the things that I learned in the listening tour is that about 70% of our students, when we look at state exams, have done very well. We have about 30% of our students that haven't. This data kind of represents that, whereas a system, we have work to do to make sure that we are meeting the needs of every student and finding success, knowing that if all of our students will have that success, our overall system really does improve and really does help our students in their endeavors. Another one that I think is just critical, and oftentimes I don't think this is talked a lot about. When I was doing some of my research for my dissertation, some of the data that I looked at around persistence, college persistence was really revealing to me. On a national level, when you look at different ethnic and racial groups, it really does change. But persistence is the idea that we can get students to college, but it's important for students to actually finish college. There's a number of students today that enter college, start to gather debt, either through student loans or through other means of funding education, and then they don't finish. And without that degree, we know that that's going to open up other possibilities for higher income and higher possibilities and just different experiences that a student can be interested in. But finishing college is so important, it's so relevant. And so when we look at our persistence rate, this is actually from our high schools that shows the trend data over the last 6 years. You can see that a large number of our students from our high schools persist, if they go from the first year to the second year in college, but you can see that there's some number of students that actually drop off. And so it's real important that we have conversations with our students around how they build that persistence, how they build resiliency in order to face the challenge they're going to face when they get to college. When we break this down by race, again, I think it is important again that we talk about numbers like this, because again, this is all of our work to ensure that we have success for all of our students. You can see by race that we are working with African American and Black students and our Hispanic students, but our Asian students have very strong persistence, 97%, as they go from year 1 to year 2. And so one of the things here in Bellevue, as we share this data with you, we really try to disaggregate data and really break it down, because when we look at large numbers, they don't often tell the full story. And when we break numbers down, it really helps to reveal what the real story is. And so this is information that we use that helps helps to drive some of our programs and efforts that we're trying to achieve. So, I talked a little bit about resiliency, but I think it's important to really emphasize this a little bit more. When I think about resiliency, many of you may have your own thoughts about it or what you think it might be, but I think this image really captures it the most. Resiliency is that idea around that many times in life, it's tough, it's hard. You probably can have stories and open up the room for people to share your own personal experiences, the struggles that you've had before, struggles that you have now. But resiliency is that idea, just like this plant that's up here, is that you can bend, but you're not going to break. You can be pushed, you can be challenged, but it's not going to upheave you from what you're trying to accomplish. So resiliency is something that we work on with our students, and I think it's something that, again, we need to continue to have conversations, because many times we will face those difficulties, we will face challenges, and if we don't have the ability to push through them in this resilient fashion, we may not be able to find success. I personally connect to this because, again, when I think about my own college experience, I had 3 years where I was working, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but once I figured out that I knew I wanted to go to college and be a teacher, my resilience just shot up like crazy because I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what my goal and what my focus was, and nobody was going to stop me. I struggled financially all through college, but again, I never broke. I continued to push through. A couple things to think about. We do this with our students in multiple ways, with our counselors, with our teachers, as educators. I think it's important for us to really build upon resiliency, but I just put these up for all of you to consider as you think about, how we can support our students, how you can support each other. You can probably think about somebody that could use some guidance in this area, but I think it's so important for family members and friends. Checking in, but we're okay. To really model what resiliency looks like and then talk about those tougher, challenging times that you may experience. We're here in the very near future, we're going to have students, applying to colleges, and you may not get in, and so how do you push through to get to your next one? You may not do as well on an assessment, you may struggle on a course, and so how do you push through that so you continue to improve and reach better, higher outcomes? I also think that just it's important that we have that positive view and really just think about, what is it that you want to achieve, and really set that up and really visualize that as best as possible, because that helps to build resilience and really make sure that you find success. And then this last one, or the second last one, is about understand what is in control, our influence, and what is out of our control. How many of you hear that and say, yeah, that makes sense a little bit, because there's many things that we want to control, but we don't always control it. We have to think about what we influence and what we can do to make sure and, again, just find success and really help build resiliency. So I encourage our students to really think about that and think what that means for you, to think about how resilient you are, and then find support if you need it in order to continue to build that. For parents and advocates and guardians, I encourage you to talk to your students about that. And again, share some of the struggles and challenges that you've had and have you pushed through that just really help. You never know when that story is going to be beneficial for your individual students or students. The final thought I want to share with you, and we have a connection around this. This is one of my favorite quotes, and this is by Daisaku Ikeda, who is a Buddhist educator, philosopher, poet. He has multiple different ways of thinking about it. But when I graduated from my doctorate program, one of my colleagues gave this to me and reminded me that I still have this responsibility. And so the proud mission of those who have been able to receive education must be to serve in seen and unseen ways the lives of those who have not had this opportunity. At times, education would become a matter of titles and degrees, and the status and authority those confer. I am convinced, however, that education should be a vehicle to develop in one's character, the noble spirit to embrace and augment the lives of others. So I really gear this thought to our students as you think about moving forward to your next steps for your career, but also today, more than ever, in this country, in this state, and in this district, we have to be willing to stand together. We have to be willing to take a stand to support others. we have to be willing to think around how education really shapes and molds our minds to create a better world. To me, ultimately, that's what education is about. It can be done in multiple ways, from technical solutions to social solutions to economic solutions, but I just challenge and encourage all of you to take what you've learned here and value in this amazing, rich, culturally and racially diverse community, and go into your future endeavors and think about how you can have impact in the world and make this place a much better place today. Because the one thing that I know is that we're all here now, and we're going to be here for a while unless something changes. But I just encourage you to find what works for you and make that difference. So thank you all. I hope the rest of your evening is great, and it's a great opportunity to learn about college and beyond. And I'll hand this over to Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. It's amazing. Just a few quick notes before you're going. I know you got your items circled, you divvied up who's going where today, but just to give you a couple of basic things. As in most buildings, the room numbers have some level of importance. If it is a 100 room number, it will be on the downstairs floor in the main building. If rooms are 200,
My name is Kristen Patterson, and I work at Sammamish, and I'm one of the counselors.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ilana Jimenez, and I'm a school counselor at Bellevue High School.
So yeah, go ahead.
You guys know why you're here, but we're going to be talking about college applications and how to know if a college is a good fit for you.
So we're going to go over pretty much what we share with our juniors and what we share with our students kind of along the way on their road to applying to college. So the first thing, we do talk to students about what's a best fit, and I'm sure many of you have gone to college and experienced this when you walk into a place, how you feel about a place that you go to. So the important things to keep in mind are finding a school that meets your program major needs. So if you're thinking about becoming a lawyer or a doctor, or you want to go into computer science, you need to make sure that the school you're going to offers the major that will help you reach your goals. Also, the level of rigor that meets your levels. So if you're you want a challenge, you might want to consider going to a school that will, challenge you academically. Learning environment that supports how you learn. So that's a really interesting one because there are some schools. Evergreen is a school, and it has like a kind of a different approach to learning than if you went to University of Washington. So doing some research and figuring out what kind of options you have out there as far as meeting your learning needs. Consider a campus and living arrangements. I feel like a lot of our students, I've been in the district, I used to work at Interlake, and now I'm here. I feel like a lot of our students like to stay kind of close to home. And some of it
Session 1 is now beginning.
Some of it I think is because it's a lot less expensive for you to stay closer to home. For example, my daughter went to University of Washington, and she lived in my basement, for 3 years in order to save some money. So there's lots of different things to consider, and when you talk to your kids about this is what we can afford, sometimes what you can afford doesn't include room and board. So just kind of having that conversation and figuring out that piece. So research, retention, and graduation rates, I think that one's really important because you want to make sure that you're attending a school that most of the kids that start freshman year finish up and graduate from their senior year. So you're investing in a future that that meets your needs, but also where kids are likely to graduate from. So I think that's really important. And apply to 4 to 6 schools. I have kids that apply to 10 to 15 schools, and it's really important to try to narrow it down to 4 to 6 schools and make sure you're applying to schools that if you were accepted that you would end up attending as well.
So when your student is thinking about which colleges will be on my list or which schools should I apply to, we highly encourage campus visits, and it's never too soon to start visiting college campuses, whether that's local. There's a lot of colleges here in our backyard. As mentioned, the University of Washington to see what a larger public school is like. Also, Seattle University is located in Capitol Hill, so that's a smaller size school in the city. So you're just allowing your student to get a feel for what it would be like to attend that school for 4 years. When you do arrange a campus tour or a campus visit, make sure that you go to the college's website and sign up for an official tour. And that is one way to demonstrate interest to the admissions representative that this is a school that you're planning on applying to. Also, making an appointment to speak with an admissions counselor, getting more information about financial aid opportunities, financial aid packages, any scholarships that the school offers. Also, you can sit in on a class of interest. We'll just keep talking about the University of Washington, but you'll get a chance to sit in on a large classroom where it may seat 700 students to a small size where there's 30 students. So you can kind of get a feel for what is the best learning environment for you. Also picking up the student newspaper, finding out what's going on campus, what are the activities, what are the clubs, what are the topics of interest to that student body. Meeting and talking with students and faculty. And many colleges offer overnight stays and college preview days. The summertime is a great time to check out schools. They offer these high school programs where you can stay for a week or 2 weeks. You can even earn some high school credit through some of those programs.
So creating your college list is something that normally students start to look at sophomore, junior years when they start to think about what schools do I want to apply to. And the thing that people look at is adding colleges to your list that meet the following criteria: a reach school, a modern or targeted school, a safety school. And a way to kind of figure this out is we in our district use a program called Naviance. Are most of you familiar with Naviance and have been on your kids' Naviance and checked out Naviance? And in Naviance, you can look at the school that you're thinking about applying to, and then it takes your child's information and it shows kind of where they line up with that school. So that will help you to figure out if the school that you're looking at is a reach school. So let's say the student has a 3.5 GPA and the average GPA of that school is like a 3.8, so that would be considered a reach school. So you want to look and make sure that you're applying to, in your 4 to 6 schools, you're applying to schools that meet the following criteria. So when we look at the student profile, we look at GPA, the rigor of coursework and test scores. And in that rigor of coursework, I get this question all the time, like, do my AP grades, are they weighted? So that's a question that I feel like I get a lot. And we don't weight our GPA, we put an unweighted GPA down. However, some of the more selective schools will take your transcript and they will create a weighted GPA for you, which is sometimes over a 4.0. So they'll look at it in like, they'll do an overview of everything about you, a holistic review, but they will look at how many AP classes you took. A lot of times what kids will do is they'll be like, I'm not gonna take any AP courses because I wanna have a 4.0. And that's great if that's what you wanna do, but along with that comes when the colleges look at the level of rigor, and when they look at it and they see that you had a lot of opportunity to challenge yourself and you chose not to, that's kind of where we sometimes run into a problem with admissions in some of the more selective schools. They'll also look at test scores. Research, like I said, using Naviance. There'll be a screen a little bit later in the presentation that's going to kind of show how the college search engine works on Naviance. And there's other college search engines. There's a really good one on College Board that you can look at too, and it really helps put everything into perspective, and you list everything about you, what your major is going to be, how big you want your school to be, where you want it to be located, and it matches you to a list of schools. Also, if you find a school you like, you can click on it in Naviance, and it shows other schools that are like that school. So it's a really good tool to use to part of the college search. Also, you can start attending college fairs, and then we have school college visits, and the schools come to our school and in the fall mainly, and meet with our students. So that's a good opportunity for your students to go and get questions answered. Another thing about that is that when the admissions is kind of a game, and so what happens is you get points for your level of interest in a school because colleges want you to say yes to them. If they admit you, they want you to say, yeah, I really want to go to that school. So if you've demonstrated a lot of interest in attending the school, I mean, not too much, you don't want to become a stalker, but you do want to show a level of interest so that they're more likely to accept you if you're more likely to say yes. So if you look exactly the same on paper as Johnny, I'm Kristen, this is Johnny, and I look exactly the same, but I went and met with a rep, I've contacted the admissions office and asked some really good questions, I've done a college visit, I'm a more likely candidate to say yes, and I might end up being admitted over someone that hasn't demonstrated any interest. So that's just kind of like a little side note, a little tip.
So college admissions testing, Bellevue School District does a lot of support to help our students prepare for state or college testing. We recommend that all students take both the SAT and the ACT in the spring of their junior year, and that allows students to study over the summer and retake either one of the tests in the fall of their 12th grade year if needed. Also, during Super Wednesday, all students have access to take a practice, either a SAT or a practice ACT. So this year, our 9th and 11th graders took the practice SAT, and all of our 10th graders took the practice ACT. So I would check with all of your students to review their scores with them, just to get an idea of some areas of strength and maybe some areas of improvement. Also, many colleges may recommend or require SAT subject tests, and in order to determine that, you would look on the college's website under their application, and they will list that if they require that. And that may also be optional for the highly selected colleges.
And another little side note to this slide is that Sammamish will be giving out the test scores to their students next Tuesday during our second college day, so they'll be coming home, so be sure to ask them. And also we're offering a SAT prep class. It's starting soon, and we also offer it to Bellevue parents as well as Sammamish parents. And registration for that, we have forms in the main office to sign up for that. So that's going to be starting pretty soon. And the two teachers that are teaching it at the school, math is Ms. Flickema, she's our calculus teacher, and Ms. Fillmore is one of our English teachers. They're both fantastic teachers. They do a great job with the SAT prep class. And it's really affordable too. It's not super expensive. So we were just talking about, just the last slide about the practice ACT and SAT, and what that helps us do is it helps us determine if they'll score better on the ACT or the SAT. So a lot of times I'll go to the student's file and I'll look in it and I'll take a look at the two scores. And we have like a little chart that shows us And like an ACT score of 30 is the same as, a 1500 or something like that. So we can look at those two scores and we can determine which one they'll do better on. And then we can advise the student to take that particular test. In 11th grade, they take a PSAT. It's for national merit consideration. And if they score high enough, they could become a national merit semifinalist or commended national merit. They also, like I said, will be getting their test books here. Did you guys already turn them in?
Yes.
At Bellevue, but we are doing it next week.
Each high school has a college and career center. So at Bellevue High School, our college and career advisor is Miss Hanson, and at Sammamish,
Miss Scott.
Miss Scott. So our college and career advisors work closely with the school counselors. And some of the things that they support with are meeting with students to discuss college options. So if your student has no idea what colleges they want to apply to, maybe they want to review a college list and find out which colleges will be a good fit, that is a great opportunity to meet with the college and career advisor. You can also ask questions about the whole college application process. I know at our center, I'm sure here as well, if a student brings their laptop and wants to work on an application, the college and career advisor could sit with them one-on-one and walk them through the application process. Also support with essay writing or the personal statement for the college essay. They can provide support with brainstorming what they should write about, as well as reviewing the essay and providing grammatical errors and advice and things like that. You can also get support with Naviance. Also, it's the hub for our Wanted program, so that's our career and technology classes. If any of those are of interest to your student, they would go and see the college and career advisor to sign up for those. So that would include like our culinary arts program, Cisco, I think we have EMT,
Production graphics.
a number of
Nursing.
auto technica.
Teaching Academy.
Teaching Academy.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah. Also, our college and career advisors are the ones who arrange for the college representatives who come to each high school and do a presentation. They also help students with looking for scholarships and financial aid.
And at Sammamish, we have something called College Corps, and we have community volunteers that are trained by our college and career advisor, and they also help students after school, and their hours are posted on the, there's like a kind of a glass room as you walk in. On this side, the entrance is of the cafeteria area, and they volunteer after school to work with our students and help them with essays, college match, those kind of things. And then some other things, career exploration. I had a student that was interested in kind of an interesting major the other day, and I didn't know a lot about it, but I had her call him in and they researched it together, and he feels really excited about what he wants to major in and moving forward. Also, a lot of kids at our school are looking for a job and they never created a resume with like their community service hours, their activities, and she can assist with that. Also volunteer opportunities, it's a good place to go. She also publishes a newsletter with scholarships and also a newsletter with different opportunities out in the community. So logging into Naviance, go ahead.
Yeah, so by a raise of hands, everyone knows about Naviance. See a couple people don't know about Naviance. So that is the web-based tool that we use through Bellevue School District. It's free to all of our students from middle school up until high school. This is the website where students can look for colleges, apply, find scholarships. This is also the main web tool that we use when students are starting to apply to colleges. This is how they will notify their counselor, the schools that they're applying to, so that we can send their transcripts, their letters of recommendation, and any additional materials are all sent through Naviance. So each student has a personal login account information. You may want to check with your student to find out what their username and password is, and they can show you what the website looks like. We have a couple slides that are snapshots so you can get an idea of what Naviance looks like. And again, this is just allows your student to take different career interest inventories, personality tests. They can explore careers, research colleges and majors, again, research scholarships, create a resume, and then all of the tools that we use for the college application process. So requesting letters of rec and transcripts.
Also in our district, we have something called the High School and Beyond Plan. Maybe you've seen it on your child's transcript. Parents always call me and be like, it says not met. What does that mean? So at the end of senior year, after we've done a lot of guidance and they've done a lot of work in Naviance, we mark that as met. And some of the things that we have students do are listed here, and those things meet the High School and Beyond graduation requirement for the district. So here's what Naviance looks like when you log on. It's called Family Connection. Down this side here are some interesting pages. Everything's not listed here. There's actually an SAT prep class that should be listed over here. There, you can see down here it says, you probably can't read it, but it says SAT, ACT. Oh, it's really hard to read, but this right here says X2 Vol. That's where they log all their community service hours. Super easy to do it. You just click on that, follow a few prompts, and then you add your hours in there. And then your hours are confirmed by someone in the building. Ours is our counseling secretary, confirms all of our hours for our students. That's where you put those. This one says Prep Me. That's the SAT prep class that I spoke about. It's a really great resource. We pay for it every year. The Bellevue Schools Foundation has helped us for years. And this is a good place for you to do the SAT prep class for free. There's also, right here it says colleges I'm thinking about. You guys can probably read this better than me. And then it says colleges I'm applying to. So you put a list of schools that you're thinking about, and then when you decide to apply, it's really easy to move them here, and that's where we start to get involved and send transcripts and help students in that way. Over here, there's a document library where counselors put the letter recommendation packet for students to fill out, for us to write a letter recommendation for them, and many other documents. Right here is where we usually list the college visits for students. And if a student says, I'm thinking about applying to this school, the person that's coming to do the visit, normally we can have our career specialist will go in there and she'll see a list of the schools that they want to apply to and invite them to the college visit, which is really cool. And then as you can see across here, these are the different tabs, and we're going to go into a few of these tabs and talk about what's in each of these tabs for you and your student. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on there. There's just a lot to explore, and just click on stuff and look around in there. It's pretty nice. I've been in the district a really long time, and we didn't always have Naviance. We used to all use Common App. And since we got Naviance, I feel like it's been a really valuable tool for us as counselors and for the kids. There's a lot of resources in here available to them that a lot of schools and districts don't have, so it's really valuable information.
Yeah. And I would encourage you all to talk with your student about it and encourage them to log in and access the resources. Each counselor, we can look at how many times a student has logged in, and sometimes we have seniors where maybe they've only logged in 1 or 2 times, and then when they're applying to college in their senior year, they're trying to figure out the website. So starting to work on it, log in, access, and get a feel for what's offered. So right now we're under the colleges tab. As Kristen mentioned, this is where students can, in their 11th grade year, even in 9th and 10th, they can start to keep a list of colleges that they're thinking about applying to. And then in the spring of their junior year, summer before their senior year, that's when they'll add all of the colleges that they're definitely going to be applying to. Again, it lists the upcoming college visits at each school. And then this is where you'll also find all the different search engines to start to research colleges. So one of the great ones is Supermatch, College Match, and I believe we have the next slide is Supermatch, which we can go into. And so this is Supermatch, and one great thing about this is that if students know which school they want to apply to, they can just put the school in. Otherwise, students can break it down by finding colleges that are a good fit by specific target areas. So if a student knows location, maybe they want to go to school on the West Coast, or they know they want to go to school where it's sunny out, where the weather is. So maybe they'll be applying to schools only in California or Florida. So you can locate or designate by geographical location, by majors. Students can put in their practice SAT scores, as well as breaking it down by school type. Do you want a private school, a public school? Do you want a large campus, a college town? And some of the other things like graduation rate, so if that's important to you. So if a student fills out all of the different categories, then I believe the next slide, it will break it down to finding a college which is 100% fit for you, 98% fit based on the categories that you filled out. And one great thing is that if you click on why, it'll give all the reasons why that's a good fit for you.
Is there anything else on this page we can talk about? No, I think that the categories are great, and it's a really good way to narrow your search. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes schools will go up and kids will be shocked, but then they click on why, and they say, oh, it's because it's mainly men, or it's mainly women, or, you know, there's all sorts of different categories. This is another part, the Supermatch search tool, and this kind of shows the people that have applied at Bellevue High School and then where your student fits into the mix. And it's called a scattergram, and you can kind of see that information here. Here's the student, and then here's for all the other, and this is based on SAT scores, and this is based on GPA. So scholarships and money. We post every scholarship that we know of in the district on this site. And it's a really nice place for you to go. I think a lot of times scholarships go unclaimed, and it's a real bummer because if your child had applied, they would have got the scholarship. And yet a lot of them go unclaimed. So it's really important to start looking junior year or end of junior year, beginning of senior year, at what kind of scholarships are out there so that when you're ready to apply senior year, you kind of have a list of different scholarships you want to apply to. So here, down here are the different scholarship matches. There's also a website called Washboard, and it's Washington State scholarships, and it's a really helpful tool. It's similar to this in that you enter in the information about yourself and it matches you to scholarships. But on our website, you can also look, our college and career advisor, she puts all of our scholarships on here, and it's part of the scholarship newsletter as well. So it's a really good place to go to try to find scholarship money for college. So components of a college application. So these, when they talk about doing a holistic review, colleges talk about that all the time. These are the things that they're looking at. This is one thing that we used to do for years and years and years. And a few years ago, we moved away from class rank. Maybe 1 or 2 years ago, we moved away from class rank. But these are all the different components to the application. The admissions test scores, obviously you know about SAT, ACT. Like we said before, the best time to take those tests is junior year. Spring of junior year is statistically when they see the highest scores. And you want to be part of that highest scores club, so you should definitely take, that's when they should take it. Grades in college prep classes, grades in all courses, obviously AP, IB test scores. IB is offered at Interlink, if some of you maybe go to Interlink. Student demonstrated interest. So that's what I talked about earlier, is the admissions game and how it works. And we've had a lot of training over the years about this particular subject, and I think it's really important to keep in mind. So if there is a school that you're just like, oh my gosh, if I got in, I would be the happiest person in the whole world, my family would be happy. Demonstrate some interest, but like I said before, don't go overboard, because then you're stalking them, and then they start to feel uncomfortable, and they don't know if they want you. So just make sure that you demonstrate appropriate interest in the school, because you do want them to know that you'll say yes if accepted. So that's really important. I feel like this one right here is so important. The essay is so important. It's an opportunity to set yourself apart from others. It's an opportunity to let them know what you believe in, who you are, what you're going to bring to their school. It's really important. When I talk to UW, a lot of kids are like, I really want to go to UW. I'm really scared. I have a 3.7, and they're super concerned about it. The essay is so important. It really is. I've talked to the admissions advisors. They all tell me, like, write a good essay. Blow us away with your essay. Make it different, not too weird or anything like that, but just be different, stand out. So I would say that's really important. Counselor recommendations come into play for Common App schools and private schools. We don't write recommendations for like a public school. We wouldn't write a recommendation. They won't read it, they don't care about it. But for private schools, it's a really important piece of the application. And then also teacher recommendations are an important piece. That's down a little bit farther of the application as well for the Common App schools. There's a place in Naviance where you link your Common App to your Naviance account, and everything comes over seamlessly. It's a very easy thing to do. We teach kids how to do it senior year, beginning of senior year in our guidance unit. And so everything will be in one place. They'll invite their teacher's recommendation, and we will do our recommendations through the Naviance account that's linked to Common App. Extracurricular activities are really important, and I think what's really important about those is that they're kind of linked to future goals, right? If you're thinking about something for your future, make high school count. Like, try to focus on things that are directed towards your future goals. If you want to be a veterinarian, maybe volunteer at a vet clinic, you know, or a veterinarian's office. If you want to go into forestry or something like that, you know, make what you're doing for community service or what you're doing for a job, have it relate to what your future goals look like. I think that's pretty important. Some schools will do an interview, very few do this. More of the Ivy League schools will maybe do an interview, like Harvard will come and meet with the student, Starbucks, and do a formal interview with them. Class rank, like I said, we don't do class rank. On all of our applications, we say we don't rank. We found that it hasn't really been a fair representation of our students. And then strength and curriculum, I think that one's really important, and that continues senior year. So a lot of kids are like, well, they're only looking at freshman through junior year. I'm just gonna take nothing senior year. Well, colleges take a look at that. It's on the first page of their evaluation of your application. So it's really important to keep things going senior year and not just like get senioritis and decide you're not gonna take anything difficult. So it's super important to like keep the rigor going throughout the end of your schooling.
So when we're talking about strength of curriculum or having a rigorous course load, one of the ways to do that is to take AP classes. And I think just overall, when we think about advanced placement or AP classes, it is a college level class taken in the high school. But I think the key to this is all about balance. So when students are wondering how many AP classes should I take, which subject area should I take them in, we tend to advise students to take one. So if a student is in 9th grade, they probably don't have an opportunity to take an AP class until 10th grade.
We have AP Hug,
Okay.
and all of our students take AP Hug at Sammamish, but you
At
have a
Bellevue
different.
High school, usually the first opportunity would be 10th grade. So we encourage students to take 1 to 2 AP classes the following year. So if the student hasn't taken any AP, start out with 1 just to get an idea of that rigor, how much time they're going to be spending on completing homework. And then because the grades are important in AP classes, and colleges are looking at the number of rigor that you have to your schedule. But there's other ways to add rigor to our schedule. So some students may choose to do running stars. Some students may choose to take AP level classes. At the other schools, they can do IB. And we also encourage students to take AP in the subject areas that they're passionate about or most excited about. And so we offer AP in all different core subject areas as well as the electives.
And there's also, we have college in the high school too, where they can get college credit for math and for some of our world language classes. Oh, and science too. High school transcript. So it includes a list of all classes taken, grades, and cumulative GPA. And like I said before, nothing's weighted, but when you turn it into the college, some colleges do weight your transcript based on the courses that you've taken. All classes taken or attempted must show on the transcript. So if you replace a credit or you replace a grade, the grade will stay on the transcript, but the impact on your GPA will change. So whatever the first grade was, we have to leave it. It's a state requirement. It will be on your transcript, but like I said, it might not impact your GPA anymore if you retook the class for a different grade. Some classes can be pulled up for middle school. What I suggest is that you don't do it till the end of junior year unless it's all A's. Because if you pull up a B or a C onto your transcript, you cannot take it away if you end up doing better than you thought you were going to do in high school. So normally I don't work with students doing that until junior year unless we know for sure we're going to bring it up and it's an A, because we can't take it away once we bring it up onto the transcript. In language, credits can be earned through competency-based testing, which we offer Wednesday afternoons. There's like 4 or 5 of them per year, and we offer a lot of different languages, and you can get between 1 and 4 credits. If your child is a little bit credit deficient, it's a great way, or if you want to just show that you know a language, we can put that on your transcript. It's really an awesome opportunity.
If they're an ASA student.
If they take the competency test?
If they're an ASA student and graduate with their ASA.
Yeah, that's going to have a dual language credit on there. Yes. It's different than this test. So this test is taken in a language that's not necessarily on your transcript, because if you had like level 4 of Spanish on your transcript and you got 4 credits, we wouldn't be able to put both together, but you wouldn't need them anyway because you would have Spanish for it. Or any language.
So in the last couple minutes, tips for parents, encouraging your students or even taking your students to visit local college campuses. If you have any vacations that are coming up that are planned, that's a great opportunity to visit college campuses outside of Washington State. Talking to your students about how they pick their colleges and career and accessing all of the resources that we have on Naviance. Have them talk to their friends, their teachers, their families about which colleges they went to, how did they determine their path and their selection of the colleges that they chose to attend. Starting to have conversations around how to pay for college. Are you going to need to apply for scholarships? financial aid. And filling out the FAFSA, parents will have to incorporate or use their income tax information for that. So talking about that and encouraging your student again to take advantage of all the tools that we offer on Naviance, getting involved in different clubs, sports, and activities at their high school. If they are already involved, encourage them to take leadership opportunities. So maybe becoming a captain or becoming a president or vice president of a club at their school. Serving in the community, that's a great way to build their confidence and find out about possible career opportunities. If the student is volunteering, let's say at the hospital, they'll determine if that's a sort of career that they would be interested in. And it's a great way to give back to the community, build their resume, and also for graduation there is the 40 hours of community service requirement. And then encouraging your student to attend the college visits when they come to their high school.
That's all we have for you. So we have maybe a minute to answer a couple questions. If you have a question for the group, yes?
When you were showing some of the Naviance students, you showed a chart that showed what other kids applied to that same.
Yeah, the scattergram.
Does that data also show?
Whatever. But this is a fabulous book that if I was the queen of the universe, every parent, when their kid is probably 5 years old, I'd have to read this book, How to Raise an Adult. Okay, are we ready for fun? Woo! That's what you came here for, right? Okay, so I want to make sure everybody knows to have one of each of these, because you'll get really bored.
Session 2 is now beginning.
Yeah. You'll get bored listening to me, and so then you can look at these and stay away from them. But don't drool, because that would be spots. So my name is Claire Noel Glasser, just like it says up there, and I'm what's called an independent college counselor. So I was a school counselor for 15 years, Bellevue High School, Eastside Catholic, Ferndale up in Whatcom County, and then about 16 years ago, I said, doing schedule changes isn't quite my idea of a good time, and I was able to take a leave of absence from the Bellevue School District and then started my practice, and like I said, I'm in my 16th year. So I've worked with adolescents my entire career. I love the college process. It's incredibly fun, and I hope you all feel that way when you're done with your experience in the process as well. I have 2 kids. My oldest is in graduate school, and my youngest is in her 3rd year of undergraduate. Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what else I want to say to you guys is, at the very end of this, on the last slide, is my email address. So if you want a copy of the PowerPoint slides, just email me and I'll send them to you, no problem. Okay, so sometimes I think that the media, our culture, likes to make this college process this big, scary, stressful, dumb thing. And I'm here to say to all of us, we're all good. The majority of colleges admit more students than they deny. So you really want to keep this in perspective. Sometimes I think in America, we have this obsession with if something is rare or hard to get, it must be really good. That must be the best. Anything that's easy to get, available to the masses, not so good, right? That, it does not equate with colleges at all. So I want you to know that. So I think that colleges do a lot of manipulating of And when you look on college websites, you can find statistics about the admit rate of a particular college. That's the admit rate of every single person that applied, whether they were athletes or legacies or major donors or special cases or whatever. That's not that really helpful of information. And some colleges have admission practices that I'll just say are a bit slimy because how they count an application might not be, like when we in this room think of an application, we'll think of the application, the transcript, test scores, letters of recommendation, essay, right? Some colleges will count an application if they get only one of those pieces. You might send, when you take the ACT and the SAT, at the time, before you take the test, you can sign up to have your scores sent for free to 4 colleges. So you might have your scores sent to a college that later you decide you're not going to go to. Well, if they have slimy admissions practices, they might still count that as an application. So you really can't get that statistic is not super reliable. How many of you in this room know of something called ambiance? Yes. Okay, and if you don't, it's important that you learn about that. How many of you have logged into your Naviance account and gone to something called scattergrams? Okay, you guys got to get on the varsity team now. So go into Naviance, click on colleges, on the colleges tab, and then a little bit over on the right-hand side of the screen, it'll say scattergrams. Scattergrams are a place where you can look up by individual college what the average admitted GPA and ACT or SAT score was from your high school, okay? So that gives you a lot better information than some big random number, with all these different parties involved in that. So go on to the scattergrams. How many people in this room are in the 9th grade or know a 9th grader at their house? Okay, how many 10th graders? Oh, good, 10th graders, awesome. 11th graders. Okay, good. And the seniors better be home because they're too far. But anyway, okay. The retention rate is another number that I like because I think it's less manipulatable. So the retention rate is the percentage of freshmen that come back for their sophomore year, their second year of college. What I tell my students is if a school has less than an 80% retention rate, you probably need to ask questions about why that is. I laugh because I remember in my head when my son was going through his process and we were at the big national college fair, and his number one criteria for college, he's really an academic. His number one criteria was access to a ski area. Okay. So we went and talked to the people at the University of Utah, right? That makes good sense. And their retention rate is like way down in the low 70s. And he's like, Mom, forget it. We're not talking to them anymore. And I'm like, would you just simmer down, and find out why? Because there's a lot of LDS people that go to University of Utah. After their first year of college, they may go out on their mission, right? So that's a bad statistic if you don't, kind of unpack it and understand what's going on. So that retention rate is harder to manipulate than the admissions rate. And then the other thing we want to find out about is the 4-year graduation rate. So a lot of colleges will say to you, our graduation rate is, 73% or whatever. And you want to say, oh, is that your 4-year graduation rate or your 6-year graduation rate? Because the feds ask colleges to report both of those numbers. The average 4-year graduation rate for universities in the United States is 61%. So that's interesting. I had a student in my office today who's getting ready to go out and visit colleges over midwinter break. And he was looking at a school that had a 61% 4-year graduation rate, and that was concerning to him, which is great. I'm glad that he picked up on that. And I said, so how are you going to get information that's going to help you about what that number means? And he said, when I talk to the professor, I'm like, yes, you're right. So he thinks an area of study that's of interest to him is business. So at every school that he's going to visit over midwinter break, he is setting up meetings with a professor from the business department, and what he's gonna say to those professors is it possible to earn my business degree here in 4 years? And what influences the length of time to degree completion? It might be that you get to do an extra internship or a co-op program, or it might be that you did a study abroad experience and you loved it so much that you want to do another one. It also might be that you have a hard time getting the courses that you need to be able to graduate in 4 years. So you definitely want to be aware of that as well. So, yeah. So on this slide, you know, what I think a lot about is, you know, we're all reading and aware of mental health challenges that young adults are facing in the world that they're in today. And I really try to think a lot about, am I a part of the problem or am I a part of the solution? And this is something that I think students and parents and counselors, we all need to have in our minds. Sometimes when students come into my office, they'll tell me about when they get their PSAT scores, and they go to their person, you know, their friend, and say, "What'd you get?" And your score is either going to be way higher than mine or maybe below mine, right? So if your score is higher than mine, I'm going to feel like crap. If my score is higher than yours, you're going to feel like crap. Why do we need to feel like crap, right? Why do we need to share that information with each other when it's our own personal information? Another time that I hear that this happens with students and sometimes with adults too is when you're talking about, you know, at Thanksgiving, and Aunt Tilly comes up and squeezes your cheek and says, "Well, honey, you know, where are you applying to college and what are you going to study?" And you say, McDaniel College in Maryland. And Aunt Tilly says, "McDaniel? I've never heard of that school. That must be a dumb school." And then you say, "Oh, Aunt Tilly, haven't you read the book Colleges That Change Lives? Because if you did, you would know that McDaniel has a fabulous undergraduate program." Right, Aunt Tilly? So if your friends are talking about schools that you've never heard of before, that means your friends are smarter than you about some colleges, right? It doesn't mean that they're dumb just because you've never heard of them. So it's really important as parents and as students that we think about the culture that we're creating around this. Your job, students, is to make a successful transition away from your parents. It's to form your own identity and go out into the world and to become a successful adult. Have I told you about this book and how important it is that you all read it? Okay. So as parents, you know, I mean, it's like we remember our adolescence, I'm sure, very fondly. I'm sure my parents would say that I was a joy to live with. But we gotta remember our job as parents is to empower our kids to be their best selves, right? So if you have a child that says, "I'm done with the oboe. I am done. I hate the reed. It's a terrible sounding dead goose coming out of this bell." As a parent, you gotta say, "Really? Are you sure? I hate it. You make me practice all the time, blah, blah, blah." You know, so our job as parents is to encourage and guide and listen. Think about what is it that's best for our kid, not what we think is best for us. Okay, students, here are some tips for you. So parents, you can zone out a little bit here. It's really important, students, that you talk to your parents about what parameters they have for you. A lot of times it's really important to talk about money and paying for college and what is the budget. And that can get back to how important is that 4-year graduation rate, right? The other thing that I want to say to you students is your parent might say, "You have to apply to where I went to college. You have to apply to my alma mater." And being a good teenager, you're like, you know, like heck I have to, but I'm gonna tell you, apply there anyway. Don't fight that battle. The reason why your parents want you to apply to their alma mater is because they have great experience there. They want you to have a great experience. Just do it. Don't argue on that one. I can tell you a lot of stories about that. Parents want what's best for you, and you have to be patient with them because they can get kind of wiggy about this stuff. I think about when my daughter was a senior in high school, I never knew which personality I would meet in the morning. And sometimes the personality that I would meet would cause me to say, I'm so glad you're going to college next year. And sometimes the personality that I would meet would fill my heart with sorrow that she was going to be going to college the next year. But that was part of her emerging into her adult self, right? So I think, yeah, and it's also a really good idea to show your parents that you're doing some college research, because if you don't show them that you're doing your research, they'll think that you're not, and then they get all anxious. You're not doing it, then they nag. Nobody knows. But, so remember this fist guide, your two different colored highlighters. If you're doing some work in here, then say to your folks, oh, University of Glasgow, random open, sorry. You know, this is what I learned, and how awesome would it be to go to school in Scotland where it only takes 3 years to get a degree? That's then parents, oh, cha-ching, cha-ching, that's a good idea. So let them know what you're doing, because then they won't be nagging you. And that last bullet point is kind of a duh, right? Parents, keep your hands off your kids' applications, right? Don't do their essays. Colleges, counselors, we can tell if there's a parent voice that doesn't sound good. All right, so parents, here are some points for all of you and all of us. Listen. Sometimes I'll have parents come in my office and they'll say, we need you to tell our child what they're going to major in college. We're going to have you tell our child what they're going to be when they grow up. And I'm like, oh, not me. That's not what I'm doing. But it's so important that we listen, and that we try to listen with an open mind and an open heart, right? So remember I told you about my son, and his #1 criteria for college selection was access to a ski area. How do you think I felt about that as the college counselor? I'm like, you are not there. Are you kidding me? You know, but what I was able to do was listen. He went to a college for undergraduate that the ski area was 45 minutes away. It worked out perfectly. Fully funded in graduate school now. I'll spare you the details. But anyway, that was good. The other thing to know is that when you're 16, 17, 18, 50, you may change your mind about what you want to be when you grow up, right? So I feel like as parents, we want to expose our kids to, you know, options and opportunities. I took a quick skim of an article today that was featured on Inside Higher Education, and it talked about how people who earn their degrees in the humanities are getting jobs, and they are getting paid. It's not just the STEM people that are having successful careers, so that's kind of fun. Establish college check-in and update times. So what I did with my kids, and I encourage my families to do this as well, is when your child is a junior, I'd say kind of a monthly check-in time. How's it going? You know, do you have any questions? Is there anything we need to be doing right now? And maybe as a parent, in bed at night, you're secretly reading 25 months to college, so you know what you should be doing along the timeline. And then when your student gets to be a senior in high school, you have that check-in time be once a week. So at my house, it was always Sunday evenings, and if they didn't have anything to talk about, and I didn't have anything to talk about with them, you know, but we had that established check-in time. And I think it was almost better for me than it was for them, because I could talk about college all day, every day, because I think it's so much fun, right? You can imagine having me as your mother. It's like, good God, simmer down. So do that check-in time. Remember about empowering your child to be their best self. A lot of you probably get things in the mail about, you know, for a mere $3,000, you can go to Costa Rica and build a soccer field and feel really good about yourself. And colleges really like to see that stuff. Don't buy into that stuff. Having a job, doing community service where you live is very good. Don't feel like you have to do that packaging. Okay, so how do you choose colleges? I kind of compare it to how we choose our friends. So usually when we're making friends, do you go to Sammamish High School? What high school do you go to? Oh, I love Newport High School because look at the color of my dress. I know it's Sammamish, but that's okay. And you go to Newport too. That's so awesome. Okay, so I'm establishing a connection with him. I'm trying to find things that we have in common. I'm not saying to, what's your first name? Neil? Neil, what's your GPA? Because I can only like you. We can only be friends if you have a 3.89 and above, okay? What's your head circumference? I mean, that's really important to me, right? It's like, who cares about that crap? That has nothing to do with how good a fit the college is going to be with what's important to you as a person, right? But sometimes what colleges like you to think is important is what's our admit rate, what's our average GPA, when really that doesn't have a lot to do with the strength of the curriculum and what you want to study or where the school is located or the values that the institution has and wants to instill in its applicants. So it takes time to get to know schools, and it's really about the substance versus the reputation and status. How many people in the room graduated from Washington State University? Right on, go Cougs. I did not, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. A lot of times when I say Wazoo, people go, "Burp, party school, burp, there's beer there, burp, there's fraternities, burp, there's a football team," you know, whatever. You know, if you're thinking about Wazoo and somebody kind of talks trash to you, you say, tell me what you know about their computer science program. What do you think about their electrical engineering program? Tell me what you think about their school of communications. You know, it's like, shut that stuff down, right? But it's that reputation and status where people are like, ooh, the place. All right, so here's that bumper sticker issue that we deal with. Pride in your college is one thing, but is your priority your own education or what other people will think of your education? So it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, of if you say, yeah, I am so stoked, I'm going to Eastern Oregon University, home of the Mountaineers, because they have a fabulous fire safety program, and I am all about flame on, right? And somebody might go, Eastern Oregon, I don't even know where that is, and what a dumb mascot, and why, who cares about fires, you know, whatever. They're dumb, right? You're smart, you know more about particular schools than we do. So really think about that. What is the substance of the school? Do I really like this school, or do I like being able to say, it's an Ivy League? I have no idea really what that means, but it's an Ivy League. You know, it's like, that's silly, isn't it? So think about, you know, what is a good school? What's going to be the right fit for you? When you're emailing with professors or meeting them in their offices, you can say, where are your students getting jobs? Who's coming on campus to recruit? What are the top 5 medical schools that graduates from this university are going on to? The University of Washington last year, their School of Medicine, behind the University of Washington, the school that sent the most successful applicants was, guess what? Carroll College. Who knows where Carroll College is? Where is it? Montana, Helena, Montana, ding, ding, ding. I'm not giving you the bag, I'd like to, but How many of you have never heard of Carroll College? Thank you for being honest. And they have the second highest number of matriculants to the School of Medicine at UW. I think you get my point, right? Okay, college rankings are kind of from the devil. I just found this article today, and I took a screenshot of this and I posted it to a Facebook page for college admissions counselors. I have over 100 likes. That's how popular this idea is today in Facebook land. You can't slice it and dice it any way you like. You can, sorry. But this isn't like Consumer Reports, which tests something to see if it does or doesn't work, Will Dick said. The interaction between a student and an institution is not the same as the interaction between a student and a refrigerator. Isn't that so great? But we go to the rankings to try to give us some kind of context about the goodness of a school. They're all flawed. They all have biases, right? So the link that I put at the bottom from NACAC, which is the National Association for College Admissions Counseling, that takes you to a page that lists 6 to 8 US-based ranking publications and then 4 international publications. And when you click on the name of the publication, it gives you the methodology that they use. Rankings, rankings, rankings. You know, one thing that happens is colleges, some like board of directors and trustees and all of that, some people that are not quite as enlightened as all of us in this room, they think the rankings are really important and they don't look at the methodology that's used. So what some colleges will do is in the fall of your senior year, I guarantee this will happen to people in this room, you students will get an email from a college that says, "Dear Mary, we know you've done such a great job at Sammamish, therefore we're going to invite you to apply using our VIP application. And if you click here, there's no essay, no counselor letter of rec, no blah, whatever." They don't tell you that they don't require that anyway. But what they're doing is they're trying to get more students to apply so they can deny more students admission, so they can look like they're harder to get into, so they go up in the U.S. News and World Report rankings. Is that not from the devil? Okay, thank you for agreeing with me. Okay, you all have the Sizing Yourself Up survey in your hands. I would encourage you, don't do this right now unless you're finding me very bored. But I would encourage you to do this, and I would encourage your parent or trusted adult to do this as well, thinking they're answering it how they think that you would answer it. Then come together and have a discussion about that. That Sizing Yourself Up survey comes directly from this guide to colleges. That's a really good starting place to help you with criteria. The other thing is on Naviance, there's the Super Match tool. Has anybody messed around with Super Match? So that's something that you should do. So you log into your Naviance account, you click on the colleges tab, there'll be a link that says Super Match. That is a tool that you can use to generate a list of colleges based on your criteria. You can save those searches, you can adjust the criteria. It's a good starting place. Another website that I like a lot that's like that is called College Navigator. And that's brought to us by the U.S. Department of Education, so if there's ever a government shutdown, not that that would ever happen, then that website goes dark for a few days, but it's a good one. UCAN and College Express are also great, helpful websites related to lists and ways that you can get kind of quick information about schools. These are different characteristics that I want you to be thinking about when you're looking at schools. That location and size, don't use high school size as a comparison. I always think about when I first started doing college counseling, I worked at Eastside Catholic, and we probably had like 800-ish students. And I went on a college tour of schools in Oregon, and one of them was called Linfield College. And I was on this bus with a whole bunch of counselors, just like nonstop party, I'm telling you. And I'm reading about this Linfield College, and I see they have about 1,700 students. And in my head, I said, this school is going to be dumb, because it's only like Eastside Catholic times 2. Oh, I just want you to guess. Guess who was dumb? Right? So 4 hours later, after I'd done my campus visit, I'm like, holy crap, this is an awesome school. There's so much space here. There's great facilities. So I just challenge you to get beyond the number of the size of the school. I really think if you're especially looking at pre-professional programs, especially pre-health related occupations, I would say I have a bias where I encourage students to go to smaller schools because you're not fighting as many people to be able to have access to research. You're going to have closer relationships with professors that are going to help you to be able to get a good letter of recommendation for medical school. Oh, and did I happen to tell you about Carroll College? All right, now I can prove my point. Yeah, I think we've talked about most of that stuff. Campus visits are awesome. Has anybody done a college tour in here? Was it the most fun of your life? Way to go, even though you're not. You're in. But you know, we can read books, we can look at websites, we can talk to adults, you can listen to me drone on and on, or you can get out there and visit schools. And we're so lucky to live where we live because right across the lake, there's UW, Seattle U, SPU, Cornish. Those are schools that are really different from each other. And so I always, if students are like, I don't know, I have no idea whether I want large or small or Jesus or not or whatever. And so I say, go do those campus visits. Because it helps you to begin to get an idea about preferences that you have. We got Tacoma, there's PLU and UPS, Bellingham, Western Washington University, where the smartest people in the land went to college, you know. So get out there and check it out and see what you're interested in. I think it's really important if you have ideas about what you think you might like to study, go on to that department website, look at the faculty, find a professor who looks like they're teaching or doing research in something that seems interesting to you, and then email them and say, hi, I'm going to be on campus on February 20th. I'm going to be on the 1 o'clock campus tour. I'm wondering if I could meet with you before or after the tour.
This is the end of session 2. Please proceed to your next session.
Okay, so go do campus visits, and then watch this trick. There's my email address, claire@collegeplanninghelp.com. So if you want a copy of the PowerPoint, great. If you're old and you do that thing called Facebook, there's a Facebook page. We don't have to be friends with each other, but you can like it, College Planning Help. And I have articles on there that are of interest. Peace out. All right.
I teach senior English and junior Avid, and then in past years have taught junior American Lit and Comp and psychology. So have navigated juniors and seniors through these last couple of years a lot. a lot of college essays, a lot of college applications, and it's going to just be wonderful for you. So quick poll, raise your hand if you are a junior. All right, what about sophomores? Okay, excellent. Freshmen? Seniors? Okay, seniors, you're cutting it very close. Okay, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, you are very well prepared. Myself, I grew up in the Rocky Mountains and then attended University of Wisconsin-Madison. So big state school, and was on an athletic scholarship, so also navigated that world. And then came out to Seattle and got my Master's of Ed from Antioch University, which was a very small private liberal arts school. And then got a second master's degree in family therapy from Seattle U. So have navigated the admissions process through 3 very different types of universities and the financial aid systems and the environments of those, and can really speak to some commonalities, but then how to navigate the differences. We're going to be talking about the college essay in here. First thing is, how much does this matter? Okay. For large universities, the first round of your admissions process is the scores and the grades. That's just really cutthroat. They weed everyone out. Hi, come on. Okay. So large universities, that first round of like SAT scores and grades, and then they really do look at the essay to sort of weigh, okay, who's on the borderline, okay? For small or private or niche universities, the essay is very important, okay? They tend to look at that with more equal weight to grades and SAT scores. And the essay can explain blips in your application. So if your SAT score or your grades are not as high as you think reflects you in some way, or there was a year or a semester that were rocky, okay? This is your opportunity to sell yourself. It's your only opportunity really to show them what sort of person you are and why they really need you at their university, okay? And the college essay, not to completely freak you out, but it can make or break your admissions. And I have told my students before that a bad college essay is a horrible idea, because if it is full of grammatical errors and it does not answer the prompt and it is poorly written, they're not going to let you in. Okay, this is when like very cutthroat senior English teacher comes out. I'm very blunt. Okay, do not write a bad college essay. It's a very bad idea. Okay, but a pretty good college essay is a great thing, and it's not that hard, and you've got a lot of really great support, so you can all do it. Okay, and then an excellent college essay tips the balance in your favor. So aim for excellence, and then a lot of the tips that we're talking about here are how to get out of the standard college essay, because there's thousands or millions of students writing these essays, and admissions committees are going to read hundreds and thousands of essays. So you've got to make yours stand out in a really strong, positive way. Okay, we're going to start with what they don't want to hear. One of the things that we talk about when I've taught this with juniors, and as Bellevue School students, you will all write your college essay during junior year. Okay, if you didn't know that already, you will. We try and stay away from the 3 Ds. Death, divorce, and depression. Because sometimes those are the most profoundly impactful and meaningful things in your lives that you want to share and have shaped you, but it's really hard to write a college essay that genuinely can express the depth of that to someone who doesn't know you. And what you don't want it to come off sounding like is you're just another kid who's gone through death, divorce, or depression. Okay, because it's way too important for that. But it's really hard to write an artful essay that it conveys that and doesn't just sound like something that someone's not going to really understand. Okay. So they don't want sob stories. You don't want to write a story merely to shock or tug at the reader's heartstrings for the sake of making you stand out. Okay? It might even raise red flags about your emotional stability and your judgment. Okay? So if you are just writing about all the horrible things that have happened in your life, you don't want someone just feeling bad for you. That's not going to get you into college, and that's not going to say enough about your character. We are going to talk about how to take really important things in your life that have shaped you and write a wonderful essay about those. Okay? Don't just list your accomplishments, because they already know this from other parts of your application. They know all your extracurriculars. They know what you've done. It just ends up sounding like a brag sheet. Okay? Don't tell a story about sports or a trip. We'll come back to this. I know sports are incredibly important. I was an athlete. I have kids that do sports. I love travel. Trips have profoundly impacted my life. But you cannot just tell a story about the time the team won or lost the game, or the favorite wonderful trips that you've taken that you look really with fond memories upon. Okay, we will tell you how to use those to write an essay, but you can't just tell a story about something that happened in the past. Okay, you don't need to prove that you're a good person or have had positive experiences. That's not the point of essay, and you won't stand out. Thousands of kids play soccer and win and lose games, and that's a really harsh thing to say, but you got to be a little bit different. Okay, the biggest do not make grammatical errors, spelling errors, or errors in conventions. Don't do it. Okay, it will cost you your admission, and it will cost you your scholarship. Okay, so the most important part of this is the revision, having multiple teachers read it with plenty of time to read it, reading it yourself, reading it out loud, reading it backwards, making sure that there is not one comma misplaced. Okay, all right. What they do want to hear, a good approach for this is to break it down into either a character reference, which we'll talk about, okay? So to prove to the university that I am the person you need. You want someone with my character. This means you need to know your universities and you need to know that it's a good match for you, okay? Look at their mission and their vision statement. What sort of university are they saying that they want to attract and create? Okay, if your university focuses on global leadership and social justice, how can you contribute and show that you are someone with a person of character that has also those characteristics, okay? And then you're gonna think about what story best proves that you will be a great student at that university. So are you committed? Do you have creativity, intellectual curiosity? Okay. Or write a vision statement. So you're either gonna say, what is my character and how can I sell that to the university? Or what is my vision for the future and how does this university play a critical role in that path? If you already know that you have a passion you want to pursue and you're applying to a university for a specific program or a purpose, okay, vision statement can align really well. If you're not sure, you're like, I have a lot of interests, I want to go find out what I'm doing, but I know who I am and what I want to contribute, focus on the character reference, okay? So the vision statement says, I am on a path to a powerful future and this college will help shape that, okay? And this college will help shape that. See, there's an editing mistake. Okay. One example of this is there's a lot of students at Sammamish that are in the nursing program and have had experiences in healthcare and have volunteered in healthcare and have traveled abroad and done healthcare and know that their calling and purpose is to work in healthcare and they're applying to universities with healthcare programs. That's a vision statement. Okay? I've been shaped by this. This is what I want to contribute to the world. This is why I'm choosing your university. All right. So, what kind of stories can you tell? Do tell the story about your passion, okay? Or a story that lit the fire under your feet. So, we don't just want to tell a sob story, but if there was something that happened to you that explains the origins of your passion for a career path or shaped your character, tell that story, okay? Because then you're not focusing on the story, you're focusing on how it shaped you, okay? So, I lived through this, but I'm not just another statistic. I overcame and it made me. Okay, and it doesn't even have to be something huge. I had a student 2 years ago who was writing her essay, and she wrote an essay about the time when she was running hurdles in a track meet and fell, and there was a lot of description about skinned knees and blood and the pain of getting up and the embarrassment, and she could hear her friends cheering, and she finished that race, and it showed her dedication. Great story, but it's not enough. I said, and I know so much about you, but it's not, this 200-meter race is not telling me what kind of person you are. She says, but it really hurt. It stuck with me. Well, okay. And I'm saying, well, tell me more. She says, well, I couldn't even run after that. I couldn't run the rest of the season because I hurt myself so badly. Okay, so tell me more. Yeah, and so I had to do all this therapy, and that took almost more time than the sports practice. But you know what? And also because of physical therapy, that's why I want to go into sports medicine in college, so I'm applying here. And I said, there's your essay. The essay is not about the fall. The fall triggered the development of showing how you're committed and determined and overcame something, and now you actually know you want to go into sports medicine. Okay? We're going to talk about I'll jump to this one because it segues into a trip. Okay? So you don't just want to talk about a trip that you took that was really impactful, okay, and memorable. You want to talk about how it impacted you and how it shaped you. So another student wrote a story about their camping trips, the most best memories growing up were all the family camping trips, and it really made him appreciate nature and was so impactful and has really shaped who he is. And it stopped there. I said, well, what do you want to do with it? Well, that's why I want to do environmental science. Okay, that's why I want to pursue this. And even if he changes his mind, that's fine. It's a college essay. You are not going to be like beholden to this decision that you make in an essay, but it can show how your interest and your passion are developing. So to not write the story about the trip or the experience, but how that has shaped you and what else you can show in your life that shows the direction that you're moving or how that's part of your character. Okay, so the person that went camping, I said, well, is this going to be about your character, that you are really caring about the world and that you're really centered and peaceful and this is like the peace that you bring to the people around you? Or is this going to be that this has sparked your passion for pursuing environmental science and addressing a major problem in the world? So where can your story go? Okay. I'll jump back. You can look at, you don't want to list your accomplishments and all your after school activities and the things you've done, but if there's a pattern that shows you've been doing this, you've been working with children your entire life and this is your passion and what you want to keep doing and why you want to be in education or whatever social work field that you're interested in, then you can show that that path is being proven as part of your character or as part of your vision. Okay. Okay. The biggest problems, I hear a lot, I haven't experienced anything unique, challenging, or amazing. Okay. But you still have things that you care about, and you still have things that you learn. Okay, so if you haven't had this like huge tragedy in your life, or huge success, or huge challenge, we have challenges every day. Okay, my life has been easy and pretty happy. All right, great. So what do you care about, and how are you going to contribute to the world? Okay, I don't know what I want to do. Nobody does. You can probably turn to most adults in this room, and we're still also trying to figure that question out. No problem. Your character is just as important as your actions. So if you don't know what you want to do and you have 5 interests that you really want to pursue and they're really different, what's the common thread in that? Is it caring about people? Is it that you're energetic? Is it that you're determined? Is it that you're creative? Okay, university, and then figure out what university is a good match for that characteristic. Okay, and then I hear a lot, I can't write. Well, yes, you can. You have a lot of resources. And if you really can't write, and you can't write a college essay with all the support, you should think through college because you're going to have to write a lot in college. Okay, so you can do this. You really, really can do this. Okay. So a quick recap. Try and think of this either as a character reference, okay, or a vision statement. And you have your choice of prompts. And so whatever your prompt is, think about, would I write about that in terms of my character or would I write in terms of like a vision of where I want to go with it? Okay. The Common App. How many of you guys know what the Common Application is? Okay. So the Common App is a national process that universities are trying to streamline the admissions process. So all the scores and data go through one sort of clearinghouse. And universities have agreed on 5 essay questions. And most universities will say, choose any one of these 5 essay questions for your essay. Okay. Some private universities will still add or tweak the questions, but really they're so broad that they still fall under this umbrella. So even if you're applying to so many different places that 1 or 2 require a different essay, it's not going to require starting an essay from scratch. You'll be able to use some of the material that you have. Okay. I will quick read through these 5. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. This is the essay prompt to choose if there is a blip in your admissions, if your test score is low, if your GPA is low, if you had 1 semester or year that's a gap, and all of a sudden things tanked, and you want a chance to explain why. Okay. This is also, as much as we've listed your opportunities, if you have a talent or a focus in your life that is outside of the ordinary, this is the time to say that. So if you have been a ballerina dancing 6 hours a day, and that is why you've only done school in the morning for the last 6 years of school, this is a good place to talk about that. Okay? If you have lived abroad, and so those scores look different, or if you don't test well and you want to explain why in a positive way, this is a place where you could do some explaining. Okay? Second question, The lessons we take from failure can be fundamental to later success. Recount an incident or time when you experienced failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from that experience? Okay. This can be big failure, small failures, emotional failures, mental failures, actual failures. Okay. I had a student write about the constant failures of engineering and like just tinkering in his garage trying to build stuff, and how often he had to reconfigure and not give up. So it wasn't a big failure, it was a bunch of little tiny failures that showed his curiosity and his determination and his passion about engineering. Number 3, reflect on a time when you challenged a belief or idea. What prompted you to act, and would you make the same decision again? This one can also be flipped of reflect on a time when you chose not to act. Okay, and what did you learn from yourself? Okay, or when you saw others challenge a belief or idea and watched that from the outside. So always think about the perspective, because you are young people growing and learning and figuring out yourselves and other people. Okay. Number 4, if you are somebody who cares about big world problems and tackling things, this could be the essay question for you. Describe a problem you've solved or a problem you'd like to solve. It can be an intellectual challenge, a research query, an ethical dilemma, anything that is of a personal importance no matter the scale. Explain its significance to you and what steps you took or could be taken to identify a solution. So this is, if your concern is world hunger, you do not want to be the stereotypical beauty pageant saying, I'm going to solve world hunger. I believe that we should love all people, and like big, empty ideas. But if your passion really is world hunger, and that was sparked in your AP HUG class freshman year, and you've been thinking about poverty and inequality in the world and how to solve that problem, and you've studied in other ways, and you've been involved in other maybe discussions in government classes, and you've volunteered at the food bank, and you've done other internships, that shows your commitment to that problem. Like you're actually on your way to solving world hunger, and you can legitimately tell a university that. Okay? So if you have an interest, and don't be shy. Like if you really think that you have a passion and a purpose and a role in this world, and you've traveled, and you've committed time and energy to something, like this is the place to show that. Okay? And then number 5, discuss an accomplishment or event, formal or informal, that marked your transition from childhood to adulthood within your culture, community, or family. Okay? So some cultures and religions have really marked traditions to say, okay, now like this was a major rite of passage that I went through. Maybe there's something less formal that you've experienced where all of a sudden you went, oh my gosh, now I feel like I'm an adult, or I know who I am, or I've just experienced sort of my own freedom in a new way. Okay? All right, questions about the 5 common prompts? Yeah.
Is there a word limit of any kind?
Say it again.
Is there a word limit of any kind?
Usually 500 words. Good question. So the essay for these is 500 words, and then many universities will have a short answer response that is 250 to 300 words. So for example, University of Washington says choose any of these 5 common prompts, and then their short answer this year is, just read it, it said, University of Washington, we believe in having a diverse community of learners. Explain something about your family and life background that shows your diversity and how you would contribute to our community. So a lot of universities, and so you'll still be able to follow these same guidelines. Okay. I do want to have time for more questions, but 3 more tips. Number 1, give yourself time. I'm really glad that you get to write this junior year. Start right now, going back through journals, photo albums, talking with your family about things that you've done, like, hey, what have I been involved in my whole life? What do I really love? What are some of my favorite stories? Okay? Start thinking and journaling. You can make voice memos or talk to your friends, however you like to start to keep information, because then when you sit down and write, it will come easier. Okay? And writing a fast essay often works better. Just write your draft. Don't worry about the first line. Don't worry about how it's going to sound. Just get the story out. And there's a writing activity in here that we do with a bunch of the juniors too. Okay. Schedule an appointment with a college center or your counselors to begin writing. We do college essay workshops. The seniors start doing them again in the fall here, but as juniors and even sophomores, say, I just want an appointment to write a college essay draft and start now. Okay? Set your own deadlines for drafts. So make yourself stick to a schedule and give them to a teacher for review, preferably not at a time when like 90 other essays are due and you'll get it back sooner. And write the essay in the spring of junior year and save it. Hey, Bellevue students, Bellevue School District students, where should you save your work? In your what? Thank you. Save it on your OneDrive. So many students will come back senior year and they're like, hey, Miss Fillmore, do you have my essay? I'm like, no, I don't. Oh, but I saved it on my hard drive. I saved it on my laptop. I'm like, yeah, and you gave that back, didn't you? It's gone. It's gone, man. It's sad. Okay, save it on your OneDrive. Okay, print it out. Put it like in your sock drawer. Save it. Okay, and then in September, the wonderful thing is you'll come back and revise it, and you'll have new, fresh senior eyes, or if you've done this sophomore year, you'll have new, fresh, wiser junior eyes. Okay, and the best thing is have it done by October 1st. A lot of universities are moving their application deadlines up as early as November 15th. So October, November, December, January, you are going to be filling out applications. You're going to be getting letters of recommendations. You're also going to be doing senior year midterms and finals and all the fun stuff. You're going to be worried about financial aid information. So get your essay done early so that you know it's done. And when you have to attach it and send it, if there's a minor tweak that has to be done, it's really easy. But you do not want to be writing this again completely in October, November, December of your senior year. Okay? All right. I think a few of you guys have the handout, and if not, this PowerPoint will be available. But there's an ABC method that I'm going to breeze through. Adjectives, brainstorming, and then the 3 C's. Thinking about adjectives is your character traits. Okay, so how would you describe yourself? Ask your parents and guardians how they would describe you. Okay, and ask your friends how they would describe you, because you might get all sorts of different answers. Okay, and we want to focus on how you're going to show and not tell your story. Okay, so I just don't want to tell a story about camping. I want to be explaining what I experienced when I was there. Okay. So here's an example. If I choose an adjective and I say, well, I'm a compassionate person, and I think a university would like that quality. Okay, the verb cluster activity around it is what are all the things I do and have done that show that I'm compassionate? Because I don't need to define compassion for the person reading my application. I don't need to just talk to them and say, I generally care about things and I think it's really important for people to be compassionate. And if we were all compassionate, it would be a better world. They still don't know what I've done. Okay? So the verb cluster, what's your adjective? How do you describe yourself? And what have you done? And then your stories are going to come from the things that you've done. So on your sample, say you were determined. What are all the things you have actually done and are doing now that show that you're determined? And then which of those can build a story from? Okay? Best thing to do, and I have students sit and do this in class, to talk nonstop for 20 minutes. Sometimes talking's easier. So if you don't want to talk to someone, record yourself in your phone. And just start telling a story. So if I go back and say, well, when I'm compassionate at the time when I showed empathy, and I have to think, if I'm going to tell a story about this, there better be an actual example of a time when I showed empathy. I'm going to start telling that story. And I'm just going to keep talking for 20 painful minutes. And when I can't figure out what else to talk, I'm going to talk about what else that story makes me think of. And who knows where that story will go, but my essay, I bet, will come from some part of that story. Or I've just given it a good 20-minute shot, and I need to move on to another story because that wasn't it. Okay? So tell a story about your adjective. Force yourself to keep telling the story nonstop, and just see where it goes. Okay, it's like the track story. That essay was not about the track race at all. Okay, it ended up being about the determination that was sparked from that event and the challenge, but led to a purpose and a vision. Okay, so who knows, like where my compassion story will go? That might be talking about my character. That might be talking about my purpose. Okay, and then after brainstorming, focus on what connections, challenges, or changes and choices are shown in that story. So where is the story going? Think about, this is selling. Okay, this is not just a good narrative. It's not just a good short story read. You are selling yourself. So how can you use connections, challenges, or choices and changes to show, hey, university, this shows you that I am a growing, evolving, quality person. Okay. I know it's really helpful sometimes to see examples. Okay. There are a ton of examples online of college essays. You can just type in best college essays for Stanford, college essays for University of Texas, college essays for Concordia, wherever you want to go. Okay. This Prep Scholar site is really good and it's updated every year. They put over 100 essays from different colleges, so they'll be like the 6 best Stanford essays, the 6 best University of Mississippi essays, and then analysis on what makes those essays good. Okay. And also look at your university's websites for their guidelines. Okay. Do they care about the writing style? Do they give other examples? Some universities give examples of student essays, okay, and you'll get to really know what they're looking for. Okay. So 3 important things to include, okay, after you've brainstormed and you're thinking about your story. You need a killer first line. Do not use a quote. Okay, you only have 500 words. Use your own words. Okay, a quote might inspire you. Okay, but then use that inspiration for a best first line. The best first line is not, my college essay is going to be about. Okay, that's just never okay. Okay, really good idea to look up 100 best first lines in literature. There's a lot of different websites for that. You cannot plagiarize someone else's first line, but it's a really good way to get examples of hooks. Okay, because some first lines are, he crept in slowly. Okay, and then you read Jane Austen's first line, and it's like 4 lines of amazing literature. So you will know your style, but will also give you ideas of, oh, I could start my essay in a really unique way, because you want the reader to keep going. Okay, and the way, when you read those first lines, you'll know what resonates with you, with your style. This essay needs to be in your voice. Okay, I have had students use dialogue in essays. I have had them write in poetic and spoken word form. Okay, it can be narrative, persuasive, or expository form. It just needs to be your voice. And if you are a very direct, pragmatic, structural mindset person, and that's how your writing is technical, write that. Okay, you probably can't write a flowy, emotional narrative story that still sounds like you. But if you are passionate and expressive and you like words and descriptions and that's your personality, then that's the only personality that's going to fit in your college essay. Okay, so it's not going to look like anyone else's. It's got to be just yours. Ira Glass has a really great segment on YouTube about the art of storytelling and how he crafts a story and what makes a good story. Highly recommend watching that. And then at the end, you need a powerful ending that connects you back to the college. Because always remember, like, your thesis statement is, I want to get into this college and you need me here because. Okay, so your conclusion is also, this is why I know that I will be a outstanding member of your community. That's pretty general, but connecting it back to whatever university you're applying to. Okay. Second tip, as you're actually writing it, number 2 and number 3 are about the writing and revision process. I know you have a lot of support in your English classes, so I'm not going to go too much into detail on this. But don't be afraid to use literary devices. So you can use metaphors. You can use flashbacks. You can use imagery and sensory details. Make it really unique. Okay? Think about the fact that like these admissions counselors are going to be reading thousands of essays. They'll be so excited to get a creative, amazing, artistic, and unique essay. So don't go overboard. It's got to be legitimately well written, but don't be afraid to show your personality. Okay? The most important tip, besides looking at some of the revision workshops, is letting people read it. Okay? You need to let your parents, guardians read it. You need to let teachers read it. Someone besides your English teacher. Okay? And sometimes teachers are really nervous. Like if you give it to a math or science teacher, like I don't want to correct an English paper. Say, don't correct it. Just tell me what you think. Tell me what you love. Does this sound like me? Does it make sense? Is it boring? Okay, ask for really direct feedback and let your friends read your college essays and read your friends because they know you and they will call you out if they are good friends and they will say, this doesn't sound like you. Or you didn't say enough about this. Or no, you are actually way more amazing than you're presenting and we need to fix this. Okay, sometimes your friends are your best readers. Okay? All right, final thoughts, be authentic. So choose your prompt that's going to be a little bit brave in telling about yourself. Be imaginative, okay? Reflect on your life. So don't just think about this past year. Okay, think about your whole span of your whole 15 years. Okay, start early, start multiple times, let everyone read it, and own your voice, not what they think they want to read. Because if you're writing an essay, it's not you because you think it's what someone at a university wants to hear to get in, that might not even be the best fit for you as a person going to that university after all. Okay, you want to be going to a place that's really going to love you for you, and you get to write that. All right. I did put my email up there if you want to email me and request the PowerPoint, because it is going to be available somewhere. I just can't tell you where. Where? But which website? The district website. Okay, that's, see? I got told, send this. I know I've emailed the PowerPoint, but I never got confirmation on where it would be. So it'll be on the district website. Feel free to email me if you have other questions. And I know for those of you not at Sammamish, you have really amazing English teachers that can also help you. Right. So are there other general questions? Yeah.
When you apply to different colleges, do you have to write different essays going by their guidelines, or can you submit the one essay that you write to?
Yeah. So the goal, the common prompt means that you will write one essay, and then you can submit the same essay to all the essays that accept the common prompt. Yeah. You might, if you put the university's name in there to be like, this is why I think I should go to Stanford University. Well, clearly when you apply to University of Minnesota, correct that so it says University of Minnesota. But there should just be minor corrections to personalize it. But yes, you can upload one and just say this goes to all my Common Apps. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah.
There was a senior last year at my school, and he had decent enough things. But one of the things that the college counselors were talking about was that he wrote a more, he kind of wrote a self-aware letter, as weird as it sounds to say, right? He wrote the idea of, this is basically what my entire high school career has taught me, and it was a bunch of cynical millennial stuff, more or less. And apparently people really like that. So what's your opinion on those kinds of things?
So I have students that saying, can I talk about something negative about myself in a kind of witty way or be really cynical? I think it just has to be really artfully done. You don't want to seem really negative about yourself, but if you can turn that into a strength, or there is some wit and wisdom and insight behind it, then it can be done well. Yeah. All right. Thanks. If you have other questions, feel free to come up and ask. I also know it's late, and thanks for coming. Thanks. All right, ladies.